This week on the RV podcast,
Elkhart's RV manufacturing industry took a big media hit last week over quality issues involving continued recalls over manufacturing problems.
over 7 million Americans are expected to be camping over the big 4th of July holiday period.
Is propane safe in an RV? Do RV lithiums pose a fire risk? We'll debunk some myths.
All this plus your RV questions and Mike and Jen's story time coming up in episode 553 of the RV podcast.
Hello, everybody. I am Mike Wetland. This is my lifelong traveling companion and my 4th of July bride. Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July to you as well, sir.
We come to you today from Okaloosa Island, Florida, on the Gulf Coast, just between Pensacola and Destin, where the water and the beach are beautiful. We're in the midst of the rainy season in Florida, so it rains a little bit, a couple of 3 times a day, but most of the time it's doing really good. The big thing is we took our brand new Cape Cod RV down here for its maiden voyage, and we can report that it works. We're still getting used to where to put things, and we've got lots more evaluation to do on that, but it got us down about 1,000 miles from Southwest Michigan, so we're good to be here. We're going to spend a week or so down here. Can't go down to the beach and leave. You got to enjoy it.
Got to stay a little bit, even if it is a rainy season, and then we'll take our time going home.
All right, let's jump right into the RV news of the week. And of course, this is the big 4th of July weekend, and happy 4th of July to our fellow Americans. And if you're marking this celebration, you are not alone if you're out there camping.
New data from the RV Industry Association, RVIA, indicates that nearly 7 million people are planning to celebrate Independence Day with an RV trip. And this year, you can count on Mike and I in the mix as we hit the road with our new Cape Cod.
Yeah, we've got a kind of a fun little trip we're going to plan all around the place and then back up to Michigan eventually for some summer camping up that way again. Add fire risks as another reason to keep mice far from your RVs.
An RV in Idaho caught on fire, and the state fire marshal official says the likely cause is lice.
They bite through the wire.
Yeah,
What they do.
It's so destructive. Well, it was a Montana fifth wheel. It was completely destroyed in the blaze caused by an electric failure.
So it's another reason to pay attention to those little buggers. They're not just irritating and repulsive and dirty. They have this affinity for chewing through wires, and you don't want to have mice in your RV. Hey, it was the end of the era for Lance Camper. They're leaving the Rev Group, and it's now going to be privately owned again. And Lance Camper's a very high-quality camper. They make some really great campers, and Rev Group sold them off. So they are now gone and back into a private group. Lance still going to be around, but they're privately owned. They're not part of the Rev Group. The Rev Group makes Fleetwood RV, Holiday Rambler, American Coach, Midwest Automotive, and Lance used to be a part of that. They let them go, and they're back into private ownership. So those of you who have Lance folks, you might be happy about that, because private ownership, I think, is always better than the big corporate ownership. But that's just us.
Okay, now a sad story from Yellowstone. Horrified tourists watched helplessly as a bison fell into nearly boiling water at Yellowstone National Park's hot spring at Midway Geyser Basin near Old Faithful. And can you imagine that? Tourists watched and photographed the incident, saying the animal walked near the edge and fell in, and its lifeless body was still visible in the spot hours later.
That's disgusting.
It is disgusting.
And that's very sad.
Very sad.
Yeah. And Oregon, one more charge for out-of-state visitors. If you're going to visit an Oregon State Park, first they added a 25% surcharge to out-of-state visitors who are using the park's campsites starting, that was back in 2022. Then it started off with just a few campsites, and then it spread to all campsites in 2025. And now, starting July 1st, it costs more to park there too. Parking is $2 more at state parks. Payment cash if you're from out of state. Oregon is so gorgeous that you'll gladly pay. You'll gladly pay
to be happy. Have you ever found yourself in the middle of nowhere with 0 bars on your phone and wondered, what would I do in an emergency if I needed help? Well, the T-Mobile satellite service with Starlink that's officially launching July 23rd, will provide 911 texting for free to anyone with a compatible device, which is most smartphones made within the last few years, and will even help those with different phone plans.
Yeah, we have had this program, the Starlink program with our T-Mobile accounts for several months now, and it allows you to text and exchange data if you're a T-Mobile customer over the satellite system when you can't get a cell system, which is really good in some of the more remote areas of the country. If you're a hiker and you go way back up on the trails and you're out of any cell phone range, having a T-Mobile account, you can use Starlink to text as well. So I think we're going to see that expand, and pretty soon there'll be voice as well, but neat stuff. All right. If you want information on any more of all that stuff, any more of those stories we just mentioned, just go to our podcast page, which is rvlifestyle.com/podcast. Now, this part of the podcast is brought to you by Keystone RV's Montana line of quality fifth wheels.
For Mike and I, our favorite state is Montana. We love it for its rugged drama, the wilderness and adventure it offers. So when it came time to choose a fifth wheel, you can see why Keystone RV's Montana brand immediately caught our attention. For one thing, we know that Keystone brands are built by RVers for RVers. For another, our Montana high country, equipped with solar and lithium, is as rugged as the state it's named after.
Our Montana gets us out there amongst the drama of the Montana mountains, close to Glacier and Yellowstone, the West. It takes us up close in personal and in comfort, right where we want to be. We've traveled tens of thousands of miles in our Montana, from cross-country trips to winter campouts in the snow. It's never let us down. And as comfortable as my favorite hiking shoes, whether in a glamping resort or as we most often camp in the middle of nowhere.
Go to KeystoneRV.com and see for yourself. Their RVs, like the Montana, are built for where you want to be.
All right. Time now for the RV conversation of the week. We want to talk about quality concerns in the RV industry. This is a very slow week in Elkhart, Indiana, where 85% of all the RVs sold in North America are made. Many of them are shut down for summer vacation, or they slow production every year at this time because they're going to start building the new models. But just before they shut down, the talk in Elkhart was a big story that the Wall Street Journal ran last week that really laid bare the quality issues that so many people have been complaining about in the industry since COVID, which is 5 years back now. Back in COVID, remember, they hired a whole lot of new workers. They had issues getting parts and quality. Everybody, I think, will generally admit, took a real hit, during the years of the COVID debacle. 5 years later, the Wall Street Journal says the problems in the industry are still there. And in fact, they're saying that the problem is serial recalls. And what do they mean by that? That means that the whole industry has more recalls for RVs than the automobile industry does, which makes so many millions more units than the RV industry does. And the reason why is they say insufficient oversight in the building process, inattention, and haste.
Now, they gave some serious examples. In one case, workers punctured microwaves they were installing with screws that were the incorrect length. In another, inspectors discovered misaligned furnace flutes a month after the employee who was checking them quit. In 2023, the company recalled 50 towable campers after finding that workers had created a fire risk by inserting the wrong fuse into power distribution centers. The reason? The factory had a shortage of the correct fuse.
So that was a Forest River factory, and the story took particular aim at Forest River, but it also gave some hits to the industry as a whole, and they singled out Thor at one place as well. It noted that the quality issues affect the entire industry. And one of the big causes is the work policies at the Elkhart manufacturing centers. In particular, a policy of paying for piecework.
Unlike highly automated car plants, RV factories typically rely on workers who assemble vehicles by hand. Employees are often paid by the unit instead of a straight hourly wage and can leave once they hit their quota. Some former workers say the system encourages speed over thoroughness.
Now, the concentration of the industry around Elkhart has created an intensely competitive labor market. Workers in the RV industry who historically are not unionized are typically paid a relatively low hourly wage, but they then get a bonus known as a piece rate that kicks in if they hit a weekly production goal. Now, we were in Elkhart last week, and there was a lot of grumbling about that article among industry leaders that we met with. But one vice president of an RV company that I talked to last week told me that because the industry starts work really early before sunrise, those RV factories, for the most part, are not air conditioned, and they all start like 5, 6 in the morning. But because they're done, they work a full shift. They have time, many of them, for second jobs. And when they are working piece rate, the sooner they finish, the sooner they can go home and catch some sleep before going to an afternoon job. Some of them are out of there, this guy told me, at 10 o'clock in the morning because they just wash through that piecework.
Now, the industry wasn't happy with the Wall Street Journal article, but it exposed some serious issues and probably gave added fuel to some class action lawsuits in the system about quality issues and what many say are outdated work policies that encourage speed of assembly over excellence of workmanship.
We'll see what happens with this. I'm betting not much will happen. The industry says, hey, we take recalls very seriously. We take quality very seriously. And they indeed do. They have all these extra inspection stations. But it does appear that the way workers are compensated does contribute to certainly the haste issues. And we'll see if anything happens. All right. Hey, we got a new sponsor we want to introduce to the podcast for you. And let's just ask you this. Are you tired of expensive campgrounds and crowded RV parks? I bet you are. But what if we told you there's a way to discover amazing overnight stays across the U.S. and Canada for just $49 a year? But you can pay much less than that because you're watching this podcast. It's from a company called RV Overnights, and we are really impressed with these guys. They offer incredible hosts at various farms and wineries, breweries, unique roadside attractions who welcome RVers with open arms. Now, these just aren't parking spots.
They're experiences. Many locations offer electric and water hookups, and you can often stay for multiple nights. Picture yourself waking up in a vineyard in Napa, or parking beside a working farm in Montana, or discover that quirky roadside museum you never knew existed. These are real small business owners who genuinely love meeting fellow travelers and sharing their slice of America.
So planning your trip with RV Overnights is very simple. They have an app. They have a desktop website that you can work with. Simply search your route and then book your stays and you can hit the road. But here's the best part. Our listeners and our viewers of the RV podcast get 30% off their annual membership. That is a huge savings. 30%, but you got to use the promo code RVL Deal. That's the important part. Use that promo code. 30% off. You go to rvlifestyle.com/RV Overnights. Don't forget the promo code for that 30% off is RVL Deal. Your next adventure, just a click away. Time now for the social media buzz.
Wendy Boyer reports on the hot issues most talked about this past week on social media.
Hi, everybody. One thing that happens all the time in our social media places, be it our private community or our Facebook group, people come online and share tips of things that worked well from them and offer tips to those seeking help. And to that end, I'd like to share 3 such posts with you today in no particular order. The first one's from Eric, and he had a problem of wanting to make it easier to hook up his pickup truck to his travel trailer. So he snapped a picture of what he did, and he painted the receiver this bright orange and showed how easy it was to see now when he's trying to line everything up from his pickup truck to connect his travel trailer. He said it was a game changer. Many people love the idea, so little tip there to help you make it that much easier for when you're trying to hook things up. And the second post was from Glenn. Now, Glenn had a issue of what to do with a cupboard. He said, we don't drink wine. What do I do with this space? And he snapped 2 pictures. One was of a tall, narrow cupboard that looked to be not real deep. It was to the right of his microwave, above his stove, and it had this contraption in it with 6 circles that was clearly to hold 6 bottles of wine. he showed that he could take out this contraption with the 6 circles, but he still had this really shallow, narrow, high up cupboard, and he didn't know what to do with it. Well, he posted this. He got something like 850 comments and so many ideas. A couple of the better ones were to put your sheet pans in there, put your cutting boards in there. Someone said, keep that whole circular holder in place and just use it to stuff it with towels, your kitchen towels maybe. And my favorite idea was to install one of those roll-out spice racks. You could put that in there and then roll out and put back in your spices. Lots of suggestions for Glenn. And then the final post was a decoration inspiration post is what I'm calling it, because this trailer looked amazing. And here's the backstory. Tracy and her husband bought a used travel trailer on a lake to create a summer place for their family to hang out, make memories. She could see her granddaughters coming out there with her. But when they bought this place and started really looking at this trailer, it turned out it was in a really rough shape. So they had to redo everything. We're talking the walls, the floors, the plumbing, the lighting, so much more. But when they redid it, it ended up looking amazing. This whole trailer had a nautical theme using the colors navy and white. And this theme was through every space. She added so many effective details. For instance, a rope. She put this rope around the handles for her cupboards in her kitchen, had the same rope detail around a lamp in her living room, around a canister that held her spatula and different cooking utensils. She had little whimsical designs here and there. She had, for instance, in her bedroom a sign that said no wake zone. She had faux fish on a bathroom wall. She had a paddle up high in one spot. And then she decorated her walls in the living area. Very interesting. They look like a faux brick wall. And her electrical features were just gorgeous. Just really stylish and unique lights throughout the trailer. And there's so much more. Hundreds of responses to this post and all of these pictures, and it really inspired others who said they were going to take some of these ideas, apply it to their RV, and make it a little more personal. So 3 different posts, 3 different types of inspiration. I hope it helps one of you, and that's it for me this week. I'm Wendy Boyer, and I'll see you either in our RV Lifestyle community or Facebook group.
All right. Thank you, Wendy.
Always something to be learned.
There is. Wendy's always talking about stuff that's being shared on rvcommunity.com. Well, I'll tell you about that. Well, listen up. We have an invitation for you. It's an invitation to have fun, make friends, and find adventure by joining us at rvcommunity.com. And that's our private online community created exclusively for RV enthusiasts, away from the noise and the nastiness. You know what it's like on public social media like Facebook. We truly believe that the journey is always better together.
And at rvcommunity.com, you're connecting with RVers who share your passions. From boondocking under the stars to swapping campfire recipes, capturing stunning landscapes through your camera lens, or even traveling with your 4-legged co-pilot.
With over 24 special interest RV groups, there is a space for everybody. And best of all, there are no ads, no distractions, just real conversations and genuine friendships.
But that's not all. Join us at 3 exclusive rallies every year, held in breathtaking locations across North America. Share stories, learn from experienced travelers, and create unforgettable memories, because RVing is about the people you meet.
Now, you'll get direct access and coaching from Jen and I. We do regular live streams just for the community. There's instant chat. There's meetups in local areas and regional spots. And you're not just joining a community. You're becoming truly part of an RV family.
Come check us out at rvcommunity.com for more information. We're all about 3 things: having fun, making friends, and finding adventure.
That is how we live every day in the RV lifestyle community, because life's greatest moments happen when you dare to explore.
Now it's time for the questions of the week. And our first question is, I'm curious, is it common for campgrounds to have dog breed restrictions? We're looking to get a Rottweiler puppy and wondering if we'll run into issues camping with a bully breed. We own a travel trailer and camp mostly in private-owned campsites. And when looking at the sites we've been to in the past, there's been no reference to any breed restrictions, but curious on what other experiences are. Melissa.
I'm not sure if we characterize it as common, but we certainly have encountered that. RV parks, some of them do restrict dog breeds. And we have, I don't know if they're called bully breeds. That's the first I've heard that thing, but we have seen rules prohibiting aggressive dogs. And we've heard of campgrounds that have applied the word aggressive to entire breeds. And look, I don't want to get into the old argument about what's an aggressive dog or what isn't. It doesn't do any good to argue with the place that has those rules, because it's their campground that can set the rules as whatever they want it to be. So just move on. But I do think if you have one of those dogs that often get labeled, fairly or unfairly, as a bully breed or an aggressive breed, call the campground. Just make sure, because you don't want to go all that way to find there's an issue. It'll really ruin your trip quickly. Call the campground before you make a reservation.
Okay, now it's time for a second question from Jenna. I feel like we've been living under a rock or have somehow missed the discussion on why everyone is moving away from propane. Is it due to fire danger or leaks? And is the thought to replace propane usage with all electric? Is that why they're doing this? Thus, the need for larger capacity lithium batteries. And don't lithium batteries come with their own maintenance requirements and fire hazards, especially as they age? Other than different technology, I'm not sure I see the total value.
We wouldn't say that everyone is moving away from propane, but there are a lot of concerns people have about propane in RVs. It seems that is more often than not a source of fires in RVs than just about any other thing out there is propane. But propane, we also want to stress, is quite safe. It's very common. You just have to properly maintain it and inspect it. There are a number of things. Safety concerns is one. Some people worry about gas leaks and explosions or carbon monoxide poisoning. And of course, those are real risks, but they're manageable with proper installation of your system, regular inspections, all that stuff.
So refilling logistics can be inconvenient. You need to find propane dealers, potentially wait in line, and physically transport those heavy tanks. This is more cumbersome than simply plugging into an electric hookup at a campground.
And there's weight considerations. Propane, you got to have all that tanks. They add a lot of weight to an RV, and everybody's watching the payload of an RV because people are carrying more and more gear. And propane tanks add significant weight to an RV. Bigger RVs sometimes need multiple tanks, so it's more weight.
Now, storage and space issues come up frequently. Propane tanks take up valuable storage space, and there are regulations about where they can be mounted and how they must be secured.
And you have to turn them off. If you go through a ferry, you're supposed to turn them off. Most people say you should turn off the propane even when you're driving. A lot of people don't.
There's maintenance that's required with the propane tanks. This turning them off and turning them on can be quite burdensome. Propane tanks need the regular inspection. You just can't drive with them forever. They need to be tested for leaks and component replacements. The fittings, regulators, and lines require ongoing attention.
Now, all that said, RV enthusiasts swear by propane. I mean, it's very efficient for heating and for cooking and refrigeration, especially when you're boondocking without electrical hookups. The key is understanding the system and maintaining it properly. And as to lithium batteries, modern lithium systems pose very little to no fire danger, which is a good thing, right? Because a lot of RVs locate the lithium batteries now right underneath the bed. So two myths. So propane in itself is not unsafe, and lithium batteries no longer are a fire hazard. That was true in certain cases early on in the lithium system, but not with the RVs. So they're pretty good. All right. Got a comment or question about that? You're welcome to weigh in on it. Just send us a personal email. It's mikeandjen@rvlifestyle.com. All right.
All right. Now it's time for Mike and Jen's story time. And we're going to share an experience in a construction zone.
Now, on the RV Lifestyle blog this week, as this podcast is being released, we recounted the story of our worst travel day ever, which was last Friday. We spent 4 hours in stop and go construction traffic as we were making our way south into Florida. And most of that in and around Indianapolis, by the way. But here's a part that didn't make it into the blog report.
That's right. Last week, we were driving our brand new Cape Cod RV through what felt like the construction zone from you know where. and lane closures everywhere, traffic crawling along at a snail's pace. More stopping, actually, than driving.
The construction, it was everywhere. We would hit a backup, and then 35 minutes later, we had all funneled down and from 3 lanes into 1. It would go a little bit, and then it would open up, and then there was another one, and it was this accordion effect of stop and go traffic. In record heat, by the way, temperature well into the 90s during this whole day.
It's 109.
Yeah. That was on the road with all the heat coming off the concrete and all the exhaust from all the vehicles we were with. The actual temperature was 95, so it was miserable.
We were actually doing pretty well, being patient, taking turns, letting people merge ahead of us. And I was thinking, hey, we're handling this like pros.
And then, bam, out of nowhere, a little red car, a little Equinox, just pushed right into our lane, right into the side of our brand new Cape Cod RV. Brand new, first trip.
I felt the whole vehicle shudder. The car clipped our driver's side mirror, knocked it way forward, and just kept coming. Mike frantically tried to steer us out of the way while the car is literally scraping along our Cape Cod side.
My heart was pounding here. I'm thinking about this brand new RV getting all torn up, and this red car just keeps going, pushes us aside and pulls ahead like nothing happened. And it just kept going. And we're right behind it. Stop, pull over.
And that's when my inner detective kicked in. I immediately called 911, and while I'm on the phone with dispatch, Mike is following this car, honking his horn, trying to get them to pull over. And the dispatcher told us to stay on the line and keep following.
Meanwhile, this car just kept on going.
The amazing thing was Mike basically conducting a low-speed chase through construction traffic. After maybe 20 minutes, the Indiana State Patrol had a car positioned ahead, and they got the red car to pull over.
In all, 3 different squad cars, trooper cars, pulled up. It was like a scene from a movie. There were cops all over the road. And the investigating trooper came up to us and he said, let me go talk to that car, because that was the one who smashed into us. So we stayed back with the other 2 troopers. And then he came back to us.
Yeah, and despite the damage to their car, they didn't want to file a report because they would have gotten the ticket.
Now get this. Our mirror, it just popped right back into position. And we could not find a scratch on our RV. Not a scratch on our RV. The other car, the trooper said, had damage, but nothing to ours. We were pretty amazed.
Now, the trooper had to give them what he called a lesson in how to merge. The elderly woman who was driving explained that she had her turn signal on, so she thought she could just move over.
Her turn signal on, she said. That was her explanation. So the trooper explained it to us perfectly. He says, he told her, you put your turn signal on when you're ahead of the car that you want to let in. And then when they make space for you, then you merge, not before.
You know, what's so amazing to me is there's no rule that says you have to let anybody merge in. They have to sit there until somebody lets them in. And if nobody lets them in, they have to sit there forever. Because I always thought, maybe you had to let them in. You do not have to let them in.
Yeah, but most people will do
You
that.
let them in.
You just hate the cheaters.
They're the cheaters.
Scrape up the
I never dreamed. I can see why they sent 3 state trooper cars, because that is very bizarre, unusual behavior.
and not to
And with
pull
road
over.
rage so common nowadays, and with people packing, I can see why they sent 3 cars.
We asked the police, they said that they would have made a report. You had to have over $2,500 worth of damages. We didn't have any. He thought they might have, but he said they declined to make a report. At the end, they didn't get anything but a lesson on how to safely merge, and off they drove, probably a lot wiser about merging Elkhart.
I doubt it. Looking back at it now, we learned that sometimes the worst situations can teach us the most about how we handle adversity.
Exactly. We could have let this ruin the whole trip. We could have gotten angry. I would have eaten at us for days. Instead, you got to just, it is what it is. It happened. And I'm sure this will be a travel story we'll tell a lot.
I'm sure we will.
I turned my turn signal off, and then you just pull in without even checking to see if there's space.
Okay, so the moral of the story, construction zones and traffic delays are going to happen. People are going to make mistakes on the road. But how we respond to these challenges, that's what really defines our journey.
Whether you're in an RV, a car, or whether you're just navigating life's construction zones, remember, just stay calm. Sometimes the best stories come from days that start out looking like disasters.
And always check your mirrors after an incident. Sometimes they just pop right back into place and you realize you're more resilient than you thought.
Safe travels, everybody. And remember, it's not about avoiding the construction zones. It's about how you navigate through them together.
With patience, kindness, and maybe a good sense of humor.
Thanks for listening to our adventure. That is the podcast for this edition. We will be back next week with a new podcast. Meantime, you can get all the show notes for this episode at rvlifestyle.com/podcast. Thanks for watching and listening.
Happy traveling.